Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. So today we are installing loft insulation. The reason for that, basically we had a bird's nest up here. I've cleared out all of the bird's nest and obviously the bird droppings and stuff and all the insulation that was kind of ruined from that. So I've done the big clean out already, but I just want to show you how simple it is. I'm not in the building trade or anything like that, but I'm going to show you that you can basically DIY your loft insulation to kind of help with the thermal escape from your home. So if this is something you think you can do, or you've kind of been a bit on edge about it, hopefully I'm here to basically just make it easy for you. So I've never actually done this myself, but should be pretty simple, right? So obviously following the other rafters, which I'll show you now, they are basically running this way down the house, and normally you basically inlay them. The recommendation from what I understand, once again, not a builder or anyone that does lofts, but my understanding is 270 millimeters is kind of the recommended kind of insulation that every house should meet. I think currently this loft looks like around 200-ish from what I've measured. It does get a bit thicker kind of the further away from the hatch you are, so I guess where people have less disturbed it. So this whole loft could probably do with like another like 70 mil top up. However, we don't really see heat leaving the house, for instance. So what I'm going to do is I've got a 200 millimeter insulation, which once again, I will show you on screen. And basically I'm just going to use that to fill in the gaps where I remove the insulation for the bird's nest. And yeah, just show you kind of how easy it is. Now this stuff is quite nasty. Apparently this brand that I've bought is kind of less dust, etc., and less itchiness. I'm sure it's still going to be very itchy. So I would recommend having gloves and a dust mask and maybe eye protection if you really want to. But definitely a dust mask and gloves just so you don't get as itchy. And then we're basically going to rip it to size pretty much. So once we've laid out a bit, we'll start ripping it and placing it in, and yeah, that'll be 200 mils of insulation where currently there is none. And then that should insulate downstairs just a little bit more above the bathroom. So as you can see, it comes in kind of pre-cut sections to make your life easier. So that goes all the way through, and basically you can use that. So you can use sections depending on the width of your rafters. That's what I'm talking about. So the width of your rafters, you can basically use and tear this kind of into the correct size, and that just makes it so much easier for you. The extractor fan here is all getting replaced. The parts actually coming today. I'm going to replace the hose because that's been slightly damaged. I'm also going to replace the motor for a more stronger one. But for now, we're just going to install the insulation, and then I guess when I come to changing this, I'll pull the insulation up again, slightly, but we'll see. Another thing to note is these boxes and all your wiring, try to get it above the insulation. You don't want to be laying insulation on all your wiring. One, it's a pain to deal with if you have to do any wiring, and secondly, it's not the safest insulating your electrical cables, so better to have them on top of the insulation. So I'm basically just going to lay down a sheet here up to this rafter, and then once I'm up to this rafter, basically just tear it along this side, which is next to this. I think this is a soil pipe. You can't see it on camera, but I'm pretty sure it is. And yeah, we'll go from there. It should be pretty simple. Obviously, once I get to here, I'm just going to literally tear a little hole around the extraction fan. Shouldn't be too bad. So I've taken a very rough measurement of kind of how wide my rafters are compared to what it's offering here. There is the first slit and like the second slit's quite close. I think I need a wider one here. So I'm just going to start to basically, you can see that you can rip down here. And then once I've got to kind of, it's a bit cramped up here. Once I've got to the kind of length that I need, I will then cut with a Stanley knife, basically straight along the actual insulation itself. Going to shove it down here. So I'm going to try and get obviously all the wiring on top. I'm going to do this bit, this section down here, as I will show you. And that is in between the rafters, all good. Now I just need one more section about the same size, and I'll basically cut it just slightly round here, just so it kind of sits over the top nicely. So basically, that's pretty much one bit done. Like I said, I know it looks messy, but I've basically torn a hole and kind of moved it rather than got rid of it, if that makes sense. It's a bit more, obviously, up here, but I mean, you look at the rest of the loft and it's, obviously it's just insulation everywhere, right? So that will do the job. That's now that section done. I've got a little bit there, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see, but I've got a bit underneath as well that I need to fill out. I'm just going to crack on with that, and I'll come back at the end. Just a little tip when you're cutting, don't kind of pull and drag. If you're just using a Stanley knife, I'm sure there is probably the right knife for it or something like that. But with a Stanley, because the blade's only small, just little cuts and just keep little cutting. Don't kind of pull it. If you pull it, you end up with kind of this. But if you cut it, you end up with something a little bit more straighter, and just, like I said, just slit, 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 slit all the way until you get through. But you can see, obviously, how thick it's growing now that it's out the packet. So once again, although I've just done this bit down here, it will basically raise up off the floor as you kind of install it. Or if you take ages like I am, because I'm filming, it'll expand anyway. But anyway, yeah, little tip for you. So I've completed basically where the bird's nest was and kind of all the insulation that was kind of ruined. So that's all just down there. Like I said, I know it looks messy, but obviously I'm working around a lot of different, obviously this platform that I'm on, the lights, I think that's a soil pipe. Sorry if it's not, but I'm working around that. I've also laid some more down there, and as you can see, I've tried to get all the cables on top of the thing. Obviously these cables are really dodgy, and I hate the fact that electricians do that, but sure, I'm not an electrician. And then with the leftovers, this looks dodgy, right? But I've basically just put the layer on top. I might as well use it, I guess. So yeah, I think I've learned, once again, I don't do insulation for a living, as you can clearly see. But basically, if you were to do this properly, lay it in between your rafters, so you can see your rafters are going down there. Maybe this side would be better to show you that. So you can see the rafters going down there. My understanding is, if you were to do a top-up layer, you would lay it kind of right to left or left to right. So your rafters are going that way, and then your top-up layer goes across, and then it kind of fills in all the little gaps. So that's my understanding of it. If you were to do a top-up layer, basically what I've done over there, it just looks bad because this is all the stuff that I kind of used to put in here and under where I'm standing. And that's what's left over, which I've just stuck on top of the main bedroom. Oh, it's very hot up here, so apologies if you can hear me breathing a lot. But basically, that's now done. Just one last tip for you, if you are using crawl boards, so basically like the wooden planks that go between your rafters, make sure it's long enough to get across 4 of them. If you're on 2 and it's kind of going over the end of 2 and you go to the end of it, you'll just fall through it. So make sure it's across 4 rafters. It's way more stable and you can work from there. So obviously, if we were to do this area, I would basically have like a crawl board here and probably one over there. And then I could basically lay it there and kind of crawl my way along, kind of roll it out. But yeah, hopefully this is kind of, once again, this is like a beginner video. I've never done this before in my life, but I just want to kind of get you guys the confidence that if you're happy to work up in a loft and obviously understand the risks, i.e. do not step on the insulation, you will go through your roof and fall down below. So as long as you understand that, and you understand that standing on main woods that's actually been built for you to stand on is where you should be standing, then I think you're all good to go. It's not that hard. It's very hot. It is kind of cramped, and obviously if you've got a roof where you can't stand up like I can, then it's going to be a lot harder, right? It's a lot more hard graft, but it's doable. So hopefully I've given you the confidence to at least try if you need to, or as in my particular example, I had a bird's nest and a load of bird poo to clean up, which was great. Obviously I got rid of that insulation and I've replaced it with new. So it just gives you ideas. So hopefully this is the whole point of this channel. It just gives you ideas that there is tech out there, or there is ways that you can do DIY, etc., that can help you and that you can do yourself. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.